Hey guys, and welcome to Adeptus Psychonautica.
And today we're going to talk about some of the do's and don'ts of being on retreat, some of the retreat etiquette, the things that, the ways to act in order to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and safe and that you're not driving anybody nuts. So let's get into it, starting with group share. Now, well, first of all, this is a topic that you wanted to talk about as well. I've just come back from retreat and I've just had a couple of, this retreat and my previous one were a little bit challenging because some people were being a little bit intrusive, so to say, with their behaviour. So I knew came up with the idea, why don't we do like an etiquette section on being on retreat? So we'll kick off with group sharing.
Group share.
What are your thoughts on group share on retreat?
Well, in general, I love group share. I enjoy listening to people's journeys and the revelations that people have, and some of them can be really heartwarming and moving. The problem is that I've had on the group shares is the groups I've been to on retreat have been quite large, so between 20 and 30 people, and sometimes they can go on a long time, and I think it's important that everyone has a lot to say, obviously, and everyone's full of energy and they just want to share all this beautiful stuff that they've just been through. But I think we all need to be mindful of keeping it concise.
So I would actually dial it down a bit more, because the point of group share is to share the significant parts of the previous night. And what a lot of people seem to do is think that the purpose of group share is to recite blow by blow every detail of their experience. Like, so first it was all purple, and then the green circles appeared, and then no, that's not the point of group share. You don't have to tell us. It gives a time stamped minute by minute of each thing. It's the things that were super significant, the things that stood out to you. Like, I confronted my fear of death, or the big things. And you don't even have to share anything. It's the stuff that you feel you need to share, or the stuff that you feel is of benefit to the group. The point is not tell us everything.
And you will want to tell them everything. I mean, I get that when I've had a particularly profound experience, I do want to share all of it because all of it is significant to me. But I think there is a knack to being able to condense it down a little bit into something more concise.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on retreats where there's people like, oh yeah, and then I saw my horse, and the horse said nay, and then the horse went over there, and so I followed the horse, and then
some people can talk for 40 minutes, and that's too long. I feel.
Yeah, it's tedious.
Keep it to 10.
You're in there with the best intentions of let's hear what everyone's stuff is about, but if there's a group of 20, there's only so many sort of blah, the horse went over there, and then the horse did, you can't listen to that shit for, 30, 40 minutes at a time. So keep it concise, people.
I really like it when people can be very honest about their group shares and not hold back with, if something went wrong, or if there's something. So there's a certain pressure during group share to follow in everyone's footsteps of how beautiful and positive everything is. And sometimes people need to say when they've had a rough night, and it brings the tone of the place down, and they have guilt about that. But I think it's a good thing, and I've seen people benefit from that. People get up and group hug and stuff and make them feel better, or give them some good advice, like some constructive advice on it. So it can be really useful to open up.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I've talked about before with group shares, that people can get very Instagram-y about it, and they need to have had the super profound moment where the thing they came for, they kind of feel this pressure to have had it, and sometimes it doesn't go like that. Sometimes nothing much happens, or sometimes it sucks, and people should be comfortable sharing that. Do you know what? Last night was awful. It was horrible. Because then the kind of flip side is that sometimes people, they are sort of playing out more of a fantasy of it. Then when something really bad happens, they're just completely unequipped to deal with it, and then at that point, they're sort of breaking down and like, oh, it's all terrible.
And another thing is, when people are speaking and they're having their 10 minutes of group share, pay attention. Because I've found that a lot of the time when listening to other people, I've been able to use their experiences to my own benefit, or their interpretations that the shaman's given them. And I've actually found that really useful, because I can either relate to that, or I'll remember it when I encounter it in a later experience, and I can draw upon what I learned from theirs. So you can really help each other out by sharing in the group share.
And one last thing I'm just going to mention on group share, a little personal bugbear. Yeah, you don't need to overuse the word grandmother. Like, it's kind of super pretentious when you get somebody there and like, and then grandmother came to me, and then grandmother did this, and then grandmother took me, and grandmother led me by the hand, and grandmother did this. Yeah, right, we get it. You've mastered that ayahuasca is a feminine, entity. Well, brilliant. You don't need to overplay the sort of the plant medicine speak. It sounds a bit pretentious. So the next little thing on the etiquette list is, do not talk or sing during ceremony. If you're going to one of these ayahuasca ceremonies, typically you're there because you want to hear the shaman sing. That's where the sound should be coming from. The sound and the healing comes from the shaman. But yeah, I mean, I've been on a few retreats now where people just start chattering, like sort of talking to each other and stuff, kind of like this volume, and it drives me nuts. Like, I think it drives me nuts far more than it should do. But still, I think it's just really poor form to be like talking during ceremony.
Yeah, or making unnecessary noises.
Yeah, which is Rachel's speciality.
Yeah, I am guilty of that, and sometimes it does need pointing out to you, because I was not aware that I was doing it. I was going into it quite deep, and I think I was just yawning or moaning or something, going ah.
Yeah.
So a facilitator came over to me, and she took me by the hand, and I got up excitedly and took her hand and was like, "What is it?" And she said,
"Have you come to share some wisdom with me, or is this you come to say a prayer for me?"
And she said, "Rachel, try not to make any unnecessary noises." Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh yeah, of course." Like I had no clue about my surroundings at the time until she reminded me of it, and it was useful to be reminded me of that. Sometimes you can get carried away.
I mean, ayahuasca ceremonies are noisy, there's all these sounds of purging and sort of, people might be screaming or yawning or whatever. Crying,
laughing.
There's always noise, and that's fine, that's part of the thing. But talking, you can't help it as a human being. When someone starts talking, you start zeroing in on what they're saying on that conversation. And then the other sort of extreme of that, what we've experienced, is when we were on retreat once, and someone just takes it on themselves that they are going to sing along and start providing the extra harmonies, and you can see in their mind they think this is like some sort of beautiful harmony that they're adding to it, and it was just so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, it may be like they may be a good singer, but I find that a little disrespectful to the maestros, and they're guiding the ceremony. And if you're just chanting in with whatever, then that's just going to take the people wherever. It's not useful, is it?
Yeah, and I think in that particular instance as well, yeah, she was a shit singer anyway, so it wasn't even like it was particularly good singing.
So bad.
I know, but it's true. I mean, that's the thing. You're assuming that your voice is good enough to be able to do that, and yeah, it wasn't great. So yeah, no talking, no singing. So next one on the list is, don't be too clingy. So, I always think of retreats as, even when we go as like a couple, it's a solo activity. You're there for, your personal reasons. And there's been a few retreats that we've both been on where you get someone who's, either a little bit lonely or a little bit impressionable, and they kind of can lock onto you and sort of, become very sort of clingy and start burdening you with the sort of the need for attention. And again, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, and it's nice to sort of be able to like help someone or support someone. But again, just be mindful that you're giving people the space to go through their own process and to go through their own experience.
Also, on the other end of the spectrum, sometimes there can be people who seem a bit distant from the group and maybe need to be saved or something, and you'll particularly may feel like you want to do that after you've drunk the medicine. And it can be difficult to remember to leave them and give them their own space because, you know, you might be thinking that you're helping, but it's not if space is what they need. So, you know, let them know that you're there and, you know, say hello to them and like comment maybe if you're near them, but like don't try to force a conversation that they're clearly not really wanting to do.
And the last thing on our etiquette list is to leave your activism or conspiracy theories at home. I don't think there's anything worse than being on retreat and you're all sat there, you're smoking the patchos, and then someone starts papping on about what Donald Trump's doing, or, you know, or trying to convert everyone to believe in crop circles, or just something where people just cannot shut up about. You know, they have to get in, and it immediately makes this kind of divisive atmosphere.
Don't read the news, and if you must read the news, don't read it aloud. Some people don't want to know while they're there. Yeah,
even if what you think that your personal opinion on it is the right opinion or the truthful opinion or whatever. Yeah, the chances are people are not. I mean, particularly with the retreats that we've been on, you know, been on some where you've got these real mixes of, you know, guys from the army, you know, you've got people like sort of very sort of left-leaning people sort of in the middle. So yeah, just because you're coming up with the opinion that you're passionate about doesn't mean everyone's going to agree with you. Because yeah, you know, if the left-leaning people say something, then the chances are that the guy who's been in the Marines for 15 years might have a different opinion. Yeah. So just leave that stuff out. And the same with conspiracy theories. Like, some of them are like fun to talk about, but still it just gets tiresome, doesn't it? Just listening to, especially when people like, they're really trying to convert you to, I don't know, Area 51 or crop circles or something like that. So yeah, leave that stuff out. Just try and keep conversation as like friendly and open as possible without turning into a nutcase. So that's our tips for retreat etiquette. I hope you found it useful. If you've got any tips of your own or any sort of questions or anything, feel free to leave it in the comments. And on that note, we'll say bye.